do a lot with media literacy, which I find a very important thing. One of the big projects I've been working on for the last couple of years that's finally about to see the light of day is like a video essay series a la Adam Curtis that I put together called kayfabe, which is the term used in vaudeville and wrestling, where you kind of don't let the audience in on the fact that the whole thing is rigged. And I feel that that's the way media works in the modern era. There's a lot of political kayfabe that goes on, and especially the way that stories are presented to people. So the fact that you work in media literacy means you're already a hero in my book.
Thank you.
You're doing the heavy lifting, as they say. So let's get to these questions and talking points that we have for you. In surveillance education, you discuss how schools have become testing grounds for surveillance technologies. Could you elaborate on the types of surveillance systems currently being employed in schools and their intended purposes? From the book, you say schools, once bastions of learning and intellectual freedom, are increasingly becoming spaces of control and monitoring where every move is tracked and every action is scrutinized. Um, that's, again, I think we said this a little bit off air when we were doing our introduction to one another. We're both of around the same age, grew up in the same time. Is this a whole different world than the world we existed in going to school in the 80s and 90s?
For sure it is. I mean, I think if you want to think about when you and I were in school, the real big technological breakthrough that we probably had in our, say, middle school to high school was our classrooms getting computers, right? I mean, this was a real thing. Um, Late 80s, early 90s. It was a platform of Bill Clinton's first presidential run, was that he was going to get computers in every classroom. And it worked, right? We got computers in classrooms, but the problem was is that no one quite knew what to do with them, right? Teachers hadn't been trained in how to use computers. It wasn't a thing that most of us didn't have at home. And so we had this technology, didn't really have anything to do with it, right? This was a time before the regular people had the internet.
Mhm.
And maybe we use them for writing papers. But one thing that has remained true from our archaic schooling to today is that, first and foremost, what a computer in the classroom provides for students and for teachers is a brand, right? There, you're not going to get an unbranded computer. So you and I were at school looking at a brand of computer, which meant maybe our teachers didn't quite know what to do with them. Maybe we didn't quite know what to do with them. But for a couple hours every day, for several hours every day, we got to see a brand. What we've seen now in the 21st century, and what we see with surveillance technologies, is that's almost this kind of romantic, innocent past. We absolutely have students engaging with brands, but they're engaging with them in a different way. If we're looking at K through 12 education, we're looking at quote unquote free equipment, free hardware, and free software for students. You get a free laptop or a free tablet, a free Chromebook. You get free access to softwares that might otherwise have a charge. This is presented to our K through 12 teachers, to our families, to administrators as being a total win, an absolute benefit. The benevolence of a corporation giving this equipment. We absolutely saw this grow exponentially during the COVID lockdowns, school lockdowns. There's not much that's actually free about these technologies, because what's happening is that young people in their classrooms are tracked, they are surveilled. The pieces of hardware and bits of software are presented as free of a certain kind of financial cost, but young people are paying for it with their identities. We see this with teachers as well. Teachers are presented with software that maybe they are mandated to use or strongly encouraged, and what they're often doing with that software is monitoring their students. And certainly some of the teachers that we spoke with for the book genuinely believed that they were the only ones monitoring, that when they were watching their students, that was it. They didn't recognize that, like, the corporation that provided that software was monitoring students. When we're looking at higher ed, And we're looking, for the most part, at people in classrooms who aren't minors. We're looking at learning management systems. We're looking at online resources. We're looking at note-taking technologies. All of these are presented as convenient. All of these are presented as ways of making lives of instructors better, because they can grade more quickly, they can catch plagiarism, they can find, they can sort of track their students for making sure that they're okay. But when we take a little bit of a step away from this, what's really happening is these are private for-profit companies who are richly profiting off of young people's data. We're super concerned with both K-12 and higher education. We sometimes make a distinction between the two.
I
And
noticed that.
for the most part, folks in K-12 are minors. And so this is the way that these corporations have access to data that they might otherwise be restricted from.